So, good morning, students.
Good
Today
morning,
we'll
sir.
start the new lecture on work study and productivity. So, it will be an introductory lecture today. First of all, what is work study? So, work study, as the name implies, it is a study of doing the work, how to do the work. So, why it was required? Because with the increasing complexity and the technologies in the global world, in order to get the work done fast in the more efficient manner, it needs to simplify the work system because it is increasing day by day. So, work study is an area of the knowledge which addresses the problems of simplification of work with the two prime objectives, and that is to increase the productivity, or we can say the productivity enhancement, and the human comfort and the safety. So these two aspects are prime by studying the work study. So work study has many names. It is known by other terms also. Out of this, the most important are given here. So first is the methods engineering, or the work science, or the work design and the job design, work methods design and measurement of work, or we call it as work measurement, and motion and time study. So original name was motion study, then time study, and then we have combined this motion and time study, because time study is not complete without the motion study. So we have clubbed it, and this name is more appropriate to say that motion and time study. So a formal definition of the work study, it is a systematic study of the work system with the purpose of developing a preferred system and methods. And of course, it should be at the lowest cost. Second is standardizing the system and the methods. So there should be a standard way of doing a work. Suppose we have to do the turning of a workpiece. So it is defined, the steps are set, steps are defined that firstly it has to be clean, and then it has to be mounted, and the tool has to be mounted. So like that. So we standardize the system of doing the work and the method which will be the most appropriate method at the lowest cost. Third is determining the time, standard time for that task. So every job has a standard time, okay, with certain predefined quality standards. So that time is determined scientifically, and we assign the time to each and every task. Assisting in training the worker in the preferred method. So the training of worker is also very important. So preferred method means suppose if it is a short-term requirement, so we give short training, and if that person or the worker has to stay back, and we are getting regular orders, then the training has to be specialized and prolonged. Okay. So we can say this definition has the four parts, out of which the two parts for the work study are very important. One is the motion study, uh, in which we will uh, design the work methods, how to do the work. Okay. So designing of work method, that is the motion study. And if we measure the work, that how much work has been done by a worker, so that is the time study. So these are the two main elements of the work study. Now, ILO definition. What is ILO? ILO is International Labour Organization. So it gives a definition which is globally accepted. It is the systematic examination of carrying on the activities in order to improve the effective use of the resources and to set the standard of performance for the activities which are to be carried out. So it is an important definition which is given by ILO. Now, human needs and productivity. In 1950, the world population was around 2.5 billion. Now it is of the order of 6.5 to 7 billion. So there is almost 90 to 92% increase which has occurred in the developing nations. So out of these, more than 1 billion people are below the poverty line who are struggling hard for the basic needs of food, clothing, shelter, security, health, essentials like water, sanitation. So that means we in order to provide the all these things, we have to increase the productivity. So for improving the standards of living of these citizens, the concerned nation must raise the productivity for their rapid economic growth. So in any organization, we put the input in a process and we get certain output. So these inputs may be in the form of 5 M's, that is men, material, machine, methods, market, management, message, and so on. So we don't say only 5 M. There are many M's and other terms as input, out of which the five are important, which we have discussed yesterday. So output we get in the form of service or in the form of the product. So if it is a manufacturing unit, then we get the tangible products, and if it is a service organization, then we get the intangible product in the form of service like banking, insurance, transport, like that. So the productivity essentially can be defined as output upon input. Thus, the productivity measures the extent to which the certain output can be extracted from a given input. So this is very important to understand. So you see, productivity is a way. So if we are having a number of outputs we are producing from the number of given inputs, so how well we can extract, so that will be decided by the productivity. While production is different from productivity, it is concerned with the number. So how much we produce, that is production. Okay. So productivity and production both are different. They are not same. So it is very important to demarcate between these two terms, that is productivity and the production. So work study is a tool of the productivity enhancement. So that means it is a tool to increase the productivity. It simplifies a job in order to reduce the unnecessary work or the excess work. Okay. So suppose a heavy job is to be lifted. So if it is done by the manually by the laborer, so it will take much time. But if we use some aid or some material handling equipment, it is going to take less time. So that means the time in the work which can be lifted in say 5 minutes with by using the crane or a automated instrument or equipment. So that is being done manually, say in 1 hour. So that means the excess work is involved in that particular element of the work. So in order to reduce the unnecessary work, wasteful work, and the use of the resources, and sets up the standard time for performing the job. So all these terms which I have highlighted, they are very important. So let us repeat that work study is a tool of productivity enhancement. It simplifies the job by reducing the unnecessary or the excess work, wasteful work, and use of the resources, and sets up the standard time for performing that job. So now the total time of doing any job has two elements. One is the basic work content, which are definitely required to be done, and then the excess work content, which can be reduced. The basic work content cannot be reduced, but the excess work can be reduced or eliminated. Okay, so that means when it is less, so the time, total time of doing a job will be reduced, and when the time will be reduced, the productivity will be fast, it will be enhanced. So basic work content is a irreducible. That means it cannot be reduced. It is a reducible minimum time required theoretically to produce 1 unit of the product. In the real life, the actual operation times are much more than due to the excess work. So this is, we keep on changing by doing the work study in the form of time and motion study. Okay. So what is the work content of a job? Work content means the amount of work which is contained in a given job or in a work or in a product or in a process. Okay. Suppose making a shaft. So that means work content is the machine should be there, it should be working. Okay, and if we say everything is available, so that first of all the material should be available of the measured size. Okay, then the required tooling will be there. Then to set up the tool, to load the tool, to load the workpiece, and start the machining job, measuring the size in between, and finalizing the size and the shaft. So these are the work elements. So they are contained in the work. So we call that work content. It is measured in man hours. So suppose lifting box of some machine. So how many man hours will be required? Suppose 4 people are doing that job, and it takes total 4 hours to do that job. So that means 4 for the 16. 16 man hours are required to do that job. Or work hours, either effort or the labor of one person for 1 hour. Or the machine hours, that means the machine which is running per hour. So machine hours may be machine wise or the plant also. Now, what is the excess work content? So excess work content may be due to the three categories. So we have to reduce these excess work content. So we have divided these excess work content into the three categories. The first is A category. So in this A1, A2, A3. A1 includes the poor design and the frequent design changes. Suppose a product has been made by the design department, and the production is going on, and in between there is a change given by the design people. So again the excess work will be involved. So we classify that kind of the excess work into the A1 category. A2 category is waste of material. Okay, so if we are not taking the appropriate size of the raw material, there will be excess of material which will be wasted, and that this will fall under the A2 category. Then A3 is inappropriate quality standards. So our quality standards are very old. Okay, that means suppose we want to achieve a good quality, but our machines, our tooling standards are very old. So this falls under the A3 category. So these are the some factors owing to the design, material, and quality standards So they fall under the A category. Second comes the B category. So in this there are six categories. So B1 is because of the poor layout and the poor utilization of the space. So this we have studied yesterday, the type of layout which is required for the type of the product we are making or the type of the production process we are choosing. B2 category is inadequate material handling. As I told that instead of picking up the material or lifting up the material or moving the material manually, if we are using the material handling equipment, maybe automated, semi-automated, okay, mechanized, so they fall under the B2 category. Then B3 category is due to the frequent stoppages of the production changes from one product to another product. Okay, so if we try to follow in between that a particular type of the production, so it will be change of layout, change of tooling, change of people also sometimes. So it will fall under the B3 category. Then B4 category it defines the ineffective method of the work. If we are not using the proper working method, that means if we are involving, suppose for finishing, finishing can be done by the number of methods, manually by the filing, or by filing on the while machining, or by using the grinders, or by surface grinders, or by using high quality tools, or by using the correct cutting parameters, speed, and the cutting tools is there. So if we are not using the effective method, so they will fall under category B4 and they will generate the excess work, excess time. So B5 is poor planning of inventory. So if we require the proper tooling, proper fixtures, okay, proper raw material, proper lubricants, uh, proper accessories. So if they are not available in the stores and it takes time because of the which some production process is stuck up, so that is going to the B5 category. And then B6, frequent breakdown of machines and equipment. If we are not having a good our maintenance department, so all these six categories will fall under B category, and they will be responsible for generating the excess work. Then third category comes the C category. So in this there are three categories. One is we call C1. It is because of growing absenteeism and the lateness. So absenteeism, there are many reasons for it. Poor working environment. Okay, uh, that can be one thing. Lack of knowledge, eh, and lateness can be because of the poor transport facilities, and so on and so forth. So they all these factors we have to analyze. And then C2 is a poor workmanship. C2 is poor workmanship is if a person is not skilled, properly skilled. Suppose a worker who is working on the lathe machine and he is employed for doing a job on a specialized job of gear cutting hopper. Okay, so it will be difficult, and he will be doing a bad job. Then C3 category, it is responsible due to the accidents, occupational hazards. Occupational hazards, we say, because of the safety and the hygiene. So, in the workshops, in the working atmosphere, or in the working facilities, or the manufacturing facilities, these are safety and the occupational hazards, and they are very important, and which avoids the accident and all, we take care of all these things. So, these are the three categories which are responsible for the excess work content. So, I think now you can understand this why this work content is so important, where we have defined the basic work content. So the basic work content and the excess work content. So this we were talking of the access performance. Now work study the approach. So now in order we have understood that what are the things which are involved. So work study, it raises the productivity of the plant or a unit by simply reorganization of work with either a nominal or no extra input. So it is very important with either a nominal or no extra input. So that means machines are there, people are there. We need not to employ anything else. So we have to only reorganize. So reorganization of the work, it is important with either a nominal or no extra input. So second is it sets a performance of standard. So every time if you analyze the work, so you will be able to identify the mistakes. So you will set the performance standards on which the effectiveness of the production planning and control depends. Okay. So the effectiveness. So suppose I have planned to do the 20 jobs in a day, maybe on the five machines. So at the end of the day, whether I am able to achieve that or there were certain problems. So that means those problems I will identify and I will set the performance standard for the next time and I will do the job with more effectiveness. So that means my PPC activities, that is production planning control activities, will be improved. Okay. So it helps. So it is an approach. Third is it contributes to the human safety. So this we have discussed by providing the safer method of work. Safer method of work means suppose somebody is working in furnaces area. So adequate, material handling devices should be there to carry the molten metal, or it should be mechanized use of the crane. Okay, all gloves and all those things, which allows the person to work with the safety and allows for the better working condition. So you see the because of the melting and all, there will be so many gases involved there, fumes will be there, temperature range will be there, and there will be hazardous situation in the shop floor. So that has to be uh, avoided. And for that, dust extraction plants or the temperature controllers, all those things are to be there employed. So that means it contributes to the human safety. So these are the keywords. Reorganization, number one. And number two, sets the performance standard. Okay. Number three, the human safety. And, and fourth is its application starts for providing savings immediately and continues till the operation continues. So that means if we are doing the work study, so we are saving as long as we are working. So continuously we are saving till that time operation is going on. So it's an approach for reorganization, for setting the performance standard, for establishing the human safety and providing the saving in the job. Now, what are the techniques of the work study? So, as I said, there are two techniques. One is the method study and another is work measurement. So, method study, what exactly it is? It is a systematic recording and critical examination. So, we systematically record and we watch, critically examine how a work is performed. How much time it takes, that means we will record. So systematic recording and critically examining the ways of doing the things in order to improve. Thus, it simplifies the job and develops more economical method of doing it. So, This is exactly the method study. Basically, we study how the job is done, and we record how much time it takes, and we will suggest the better way of doing it. So all these things are involved in the method study. So second is a work study or work measurement. It's a part of that. So work measurement is the application of techniques which are designed to establish the time for a qualified worker. So now this term is important, qualified worker. You must have heard a boiler certified worker or a certified vendor, okay, or a certified mason, okay, or a certified programmer. So that means there are different qualifications standard assigned to the different categories of the workers. So they are qualified workers. So when we set the time or when we calculate the standard time, so the job is done by a worker who is a qualified worker, and he will establish the required time to do that job. So it's an application of techniques designed to establish the time for a qualified worker to carry out the task at a defined rate of working. Okay, so normally it is assumed that a labor can work 8 hours per day. Okay, and he does so much of the excavation work, or if a turner is there, so if he works, so he can produce this much of machining per hour or this much of casting per hour. Okay, if a qualified driver is there, so he can uh, run the vehicle at a established speed of say 40 kilometer per hour or 50 kilometer per hour, depending upon suppose it's a crane driver or the crane worker. So the standards are defined. Okay, so to carry it, so it has to be a defined rate of work. So not like this, you have given a job to a worker and he does it in the whole day, a job which can be done in 2 hours. Okay. So work measurement is the application of the technique designed to establish the time for a qualified worker to carry out a task at a defined rate of working. So it determines how long it should take to carry out the work. Okay. So you understand now there are two techniques. One is a method study and another is a work measurement. So method study, it systematically record and critically examine the ways of doing work in order to improve the work method and simplifies the job and develops a more economical method of doing it. Each and every word in this definition are important and inclusive. So without using every word, this definition will be incomplete. At the same time, the work measurement is the application of the techniques designed to establish the time for a qualified worker to carry out their task at a defined rate, and it will determine that how long it should take to carry out that. So basic procedure which are involved, or you can say it is a gist of work study. So the steps, you can say the step one is select. Select what? Select the job or the task or the process which is to be studied. So that is the first step. Second is to record. So record what? To all the relevant data, facts about the selected job. So suppose a job, we are going to do the work study of making a shaft. Okay. So the job selected is making the job. And if we are doing the work study, so first we are doing the work study of drawing the issuing the raw material. So that is the task, and the process is how it is issued. Okay, so it is all inclusive in the first select. Then record all the relevant data. So suppose he starts doing the machining. So what data he needs and the facts about the selective job. Suppose he needs a tool, he needs a fixture, okay. He needs the proper measuring instruments along with the machining. So he records all this. Then examine recorded facts critically by challenging its purpose, place, sequence, and the person and method. So these are important. So first thing is he record that how he load the job, how he load the tool, how much time it takes, okay, which way he does it. So these facts are critically recorded and then challenging the purpose. Then we see the place and sequence. It is done by which person, which method he adopted. Now next is develop. So if we are analyzed, we have critically recorded and we have seen, we have challenged the purpose. So what we do, we develop the new methods or an alternative method of doing the selected job. As I told, the lifting the job on the shop floor. So if it is done manually by the four people, instead of that, we can use a crane or we can use a forklift truck. So we develop or we suggest the alternative method. Next step is to evaluate the results of the different alternative solutions. So whether that solutions are really suggestive or they involve more cost or more time or they are not effective. So all these things we will evaluate. Then we will define the new method and present it to the concerned people or the concerned manager. Okay. So we will say instead of doing this job by this machine or by this tool or by this worker, it is better to get it done by this way, by this machine or the alternative person, like that. Okay. Then we install the new method and provide the training to the concerned staff. So if you are suggesting some new method of doing a work, okay, so that naturally the staff should be there. And if the staff is already existing, you have to train that staff for that particular new method of working or the new method of working that machine. And then last is to maintain the new standard practice and establish the control procedure. So you have to define the procedures in order to get the standard of doing that job and saying that. Suppose you see there are some safety aspects you are suggesting. So it has to be maintained. So it has to be made as a standard practice and there should be control. Somebody should see this and somebody should impose it and see to it that it is done. So this is how the work study is done. So in the next class, we'll be doing some more detailed aspect of work study. What are the techniques involved in the work study and what are the techniques involved in the time and motion study. So of course I have to brief it up because this will be covered as I told you in a different course altogether, maybe in the 8th semester. Okay. So any question you want to ask or any queries there?
यस सर.
Any question?
सर वर्क स्टडी सर समझ नहीं आया सर. वर्क स्टडी सर क्या होता है सर?
वर्क स्टडी में क्या क्या दो वर्ड हैं बताइए मुझे पहले. वर्क और स्टडी. तो स्टडी ऑफ वर्क. वर्क स्टडी इज a method of studying the work. वर्क मीन्स सपोज आपने एक शाफ्ट बनानी है तो वर्क क्या हुआ? टू मेक ए शाफ्ट. And study is how it is made. So you have to define, you have to identify all the steps involved in making a shaft, isn't it? Or making a product. Say simple, a tailor is there. He has to make a shirt. Okay. So what are the steps? So what is the work? Work is preparing stitching a shirt, and the study is what? Steps which are involved in making that stitching that shirt. तो उसमें क्या क्या steps involved होंगे? Purchase of the arrangement of the cloth, okay, measurement of the size of the person, a stitching tool, maybe a sewing machine, a iron press, isn't it?
यस
नहीं
सर।
समझ आ रहा?
सर आगे समझो सर।
हाँ, so it is simple. छोटे से छोटा काम, whatever job is to be done in an organization, right from picking up a tool or transferring a tool from one place to another place, or picking up a fan or switching a fan, switching off a fan. So this is work study. So every work which is performed, because it is related to the productivity. शुरू में बताया नहीं मैंने? Everything is related to the productivity. What is the aim of an organization? To increase the productivity and to utilize the resources at the most appropriate or in an efficient manner, so that we get the product at the minimum cost. ठीक है? वर्क एक्सेस वर्क कंटेंट बताया आपको, बेसिक वर्क कंटेंट बताया, ठीक है? तो अभी हम नेक्स्ट लेक्चर में वी विल अंडरस्टैंड द टूल्स, एंड विद दैट यू विल बी एबल टू learn much more better. Anything else? Anybody else want to ask any question? So I think no more questions are there. So thank you very much for a patient listening.